don't know what hole you crawled out of, or where you came from, but I'm sending you back.
Hey howdy hey DC heroes and villains and so forth, Wolfman47 Dash here. So originally I was going to talk about specifically the DC Tomorrowverse, but as it turns out it's part of the wider DC animated movie universe, which is a cinematic universe that is best described as an animated cinematic universe consisting of a number of animated films that were released straight to home media, as well as a few short films as well. So I'm going to talk about it as a whole. So before we get to the sort of nitty gritty of it, I should explain where it came from. So firstly, it's part of a range of DC films called the DC Universe Animated Original Movies range. So this is a collection of straight-to-home media films based on DC characters, villains, and stories. The majority of which are adaptations of different stories and comic books and so forth, with some having connections to one another. It started off with Superman Doomsday, which was this take on the death of Superman storyline, a sort of rushed take, I should say, because it was quite condensed, and continued on with having other stuff as well. A lot of people that have voiced the characters in various forms of media have all come and voiced the characters, and there are like some films that aren't considered part of the range, but are nevertheless released straight to home media anyway. And there were a few, and as I said, there were a few that do have some connections, but most of them are otherwise self-contained. So there's one that's based on the Frank Miller Batman stories, so Year One and The Dark Knight Returns, parts 1 and 2. Another based on 2 of the Superman Batman stories, so Public Enemies and Apocalypse. And then you've got a couple that are based on the sort of rebirth storyline of Justice League, but most would kind of consider what would have been the DC Animated Universe films, Justice League Crisis on Two Earths and Justice League Doom, which were both originally planned to be DC Animated Universe films, but ultimately were retooled into something else, but you still have some connections in those. Justice League Doom in particular being based on the Tower of Babel storyline. So that's that. Then you've also got a couple of anthology films, so Batman Gotham Knight, which while the canonicity is open-ended, most people would say it's set in the Nolan verse of the Batman films, so the Dark Knight trilogy, in other words. And then you've got the couple of Green Lantern films as well that seem to be connected. But the DC animated movie universe was the first time where there was a much wider universe that was connected. Of course, it's not the first time DC have had a shared universe, because as I've mentioned previously, there's the DC animated universe, and the DC universe animated original movies does have at least 2 films that, while has the same animation and voice actors of that franchise, as it were, the canonicity is open ended. So that's Batman and Harley Quinn and Justice League versus the Fatal Five. Just need to catch my breath. So now let's talk about the DC animated movie universe. So this was a shared universe that first came about with the film Justice League Flashpoint Paradox, a much better take on the Flashpoint storyline than the film ever did. You know, the film The Flash. And it was well received, and it launched a series of films that basically have the sort of same animation, which is sort of anime inspired, or actually properly anime. I'm actually not sure, or can't remember. But yeah, it's got a bunch of different films, and the connections that they have is the same voice actors, the same animation, and of course some continuity bits here and there. It's much like with the rest of the DC Universe animated original movies. It does try and adapt various stories, but doing its own take because it's meant to be trying to be consistent with the rest of the films in that shared universe. And it started off with a Flashpoint event and then ended with an event in which Darkseid, which is the bigger bad of that phase of the cinematic universe, basically just kept trying to invade Earth, but ultimately failed until the Justice League invaded his Earth, and well, everything happened as established in Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. Now, a character that's quite central to everything that's happened in both the Phase 1 and Phase 2 is John Constantine, who was reprised by Matt Ryan, who plays him in the Constantine TV series, the character of which is also established in the Arrowverse. So a bit of an Easter egg there. So after the Apocalypse War, we then got the Tomorrowverse films, which continued the trend of trying to adapt different stories together, but from the comics, but also doing some of its own stories as well. I wasn't too keen on the animation change because it just looked a bit stiff to me, and kind of reminded me of that animated American sitcom Arthur, or whatever it's called. I'll say any idea if that's the wrong thing. But I've grown to like it more, having watched a few films into it. In fact, I'm actually filming this after I've seen part 2 of the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline. Yes, there is a second Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline told on the small screen, this time animated and I guess a bit more faithful than the Arrowverse take, but yeah. I think overall the films are okay. I wouldn't say they're perfect, but they are okay. They faithfully adapt different stories well, but while also retaining continuity, animation, and the voice acting. All the different events that sort of try and change and retcon things are well adapted. Sometimes it can come across as they're explaining a bit too much and not too much is actually happening action wise, but it's nevertheless done reasonably well. And it doesn't overshadow the rest of the animated original movies because, in addition to these films, that range of franchises is still bringing out other films as well, in different animation styles, and it's basically a case of telling different stories, either adapted from comics or completely original stories. So yeah. It's the whole franchise as well as the overall DC animated original movies range is spearheaded by not a cough, is spearheaded by Bruce Timm, who was the head of the DC animated universe. And although these days I think it's someone else, but he started it and still is kind of sort of involved in a way. So yeah. It's definitely worth checking out. It's not going to be for everybody, I get that. It's definitely very different to the live action stuff that we've all got, but you can rest assured in knowing that the films will more likely be more faithful adaptation of different comic book stories than any of the live action stuff. In particular, because I know in the animated movie universe we get sort of New 52 version. It's basically inspired by the New 52 comics, and it's in the sort of first phase. The second phase looks more like its the more classic counterparts. And of course it has its own short films as well. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about them. Just check them out. Some films are better than others, and some films just feel a bit more complicated and a bit too much and all that stuff. But overall, if you're a hardcore fan of DC and love the stuff that they bring out every year, when they're being treated well by Warner Brothers and other companies, then yeah, check it out. And I've yet to see the third part of Crisis on Infinite Earths, which I hear is not only the final part of that trilogy, but also the finale of the DC animated universe, because of some decision James Gunn made as a result of the direction of the franchise. But I'm hoping that in light of the new live action films that are coming out soon as part of his new cinematic universe, that will still get the animated stuff as well, because as most of us know, not everything that is shown in the comics can be adapted in a live action way. Some will have to be adapted animation like it is here, and yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, that's all I can say, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about each of the different films. I think my favourite ones are the Death of Superman and Reign of the Superman storyline, which I think was adapted really well. I'm not too keen on Batman Hush. I just felt it kind of betrayed the original storyline in a way and made out that and just changed a few things I wasn't exactly in agreement with. I do like the other Batman films in the franchise. I don't remember them that well, but I do like them. I like the Long Halloween adaptation and all the original stuff. Yeah, it's all good. So yeah, that's all I've got to say on that. And I realise I've not explained why I'm not wearing much at the moment. I have been getting warmed up after having been to the gym today. So yeah, I'm just cooling down and all that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share, comment and subscribe wherever the buttons are. See you in the next one. Peace to you all. And if you do need to find something to watch because you ran out of things to watch, or can't bother to watch other things, check these films out, because they are definitely worth your time if you're into DC and don't really mind having things in an animation film. So right, doodles.